Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss the Bourne Ultimatum, starring Matt Damon, Julia Stiles, David Strathairn, I don't know if I'm saying that right, please forgive me, Scott Glenn, Patty Considine, Edgar Ramirez, Albert Finney, and Joan Allen, and directed by Paul Greengrass. Now, I remember going to theaters for this and the fact that it won a few Oscars, and is it deserved? Well, I don't really remember at the time, but let's get into the movie. In Moscow, Russia, we see Jason Bourne returned by Matt Damon bleeding while getting on a train and hiding from the authorities, and goes into a doctor's office where he can heal himself, which does look pretty painful as he remembers how he became the assassin he is now. And he doesn't shoot an unarmed police officer as it's not his argument, and that opening setup will bring up part of how Jason is the assassin we know in the books and this movie series. And I do love that. 6 weeks later, Pam Landy, returned by Joan Allen, meets with Ezra Kramer, played by Scott Glenn, and tells her to continue to hunt down Bourne, as he is still a threat to the CIA. For what reasons? Because of Treadstone. Jason goes to Paris, France to tell Martin Kreutz, I don't know if I'm saying that right, played by Daniel Bruhl, who will eventually be well known as the bad guy in Captain America Civil War, and a bunch of other things like Inglorious Bastards, and tells him his sister is dead, who happens to be Marie, which is nice to see Daniel Bruhl before his heyday in Inglorious Bastards. In London, we get Noah Vosen, played by David Strathairn, who I don't know if I said the name right, please forgive me, from Good Night and Good Luck from a year before, who is looking for a photographer named Simon Ross, played by Patty Considine, and I am looking at the characters thus far, or liking the characters, as we're introduced to them. Meanwhile, Jason remembers more about his past, which we, the audience, will know pieces to it throughout the movie. I like the fact it takes time to figure out how he is a professional assassin. Jason calls Simon to meet him at the train station about the article he wrote. Meanwhile, another hitman named Paz, played by Edgar Ramirez, who I first saw in the biopic Domino about Domino Harvey, hunts both Jason and Simon while they meet at the train station as Jason gets information about Blackbriar? Yeah, I think that sounds right. Which is like Treadstone, as Jason tells him where to go to avoid the cameras while the CIA looks for Simon, and Paz does eventually shoot Simon, but doesn't get Bourne, but Bourne tries to stop him, but Paz gets away in a train. And the action sequence in that scene was rather intense. It works very well in a spy thriller kind of way, while we get flashbacks to see Dr. Albert Hirsch, played by Albert Finney, as the creator of Jason Bourne. And what's really funny is I just reviewed Albert Finney and can understand him much better here, unlike the original Murder on the Orient Express. And I'll review him again in Skyfall when I get to that James Bond movie. I hope it comes out in April. Please let it come out in April. Moving on. Jason finds Nikki Parsons, returned by Julia Stiles, who has more to do in this movie than the previous two movies, who just arrived and helps Bourne get a man named Neil Daniels, whom the CIA are led to believe has contact with Jason Bourne, and Pam wants Bourne alive and Noah wants him dead for beating up his men, as Pam tells his to humor her. Meanwhile, Jason tells Nikki about how Dr. Hirsch was there from the beginning, and I can see the shots better here than last time, but believe me, the cameras are still shaking around, but I could still see it a little bit clearer than last time. Whereas the last time, the camera was shaking a hell of a lot, and they do that here, don't get me wrong on that, but less obnoxious than last time. Maybe I'll just keep it that way. Pam figures out Noah is up to something while Jason follows Paz on a scooter to get to Daniels, as he gets out of a hotel and Paz drops a bomb and blows up Daniels, but again doesn't kill Bourne, and Bourne goes after Paz in a long but pretty good chase scene as Paz finds Nikki and follows her while the cops go after Bourne, and as he chases Paz to and goes through building to building, and Nikki goes in a building where Paz doesn't find her, but he does get a fight with Jason, and Jason does get to the building Nick Nikki and Paz are at, and they have some fight which with Paz, and I love that fight. As it's not over the top funny like John Wick 3 was, but this is a PG-13 rated movie, whereas John Wick was rated R, and as Jason chokes the living hell out of Paz as he's dead, and I really do love the fight in any Bourne film. This one is the best in my opinion. Jason gets Nikki to travel somewhere while Jason takes care of some business with Daniels in New York, while Pam figures out information about Jason as he gets to New York, and we get sort of a repeat scene from the Bourne Supremacy where he calls her, and Pam tells Jason about his real name, birth date, and as he hangs up, as Pam goes to find Jason, as he tells Pam to meet him in Tudor Street, and Noah goes outside and tries to find Jason as he calls Noah and asks him where he's at, and he sets up a meeting, and Noah says he's in his office, and Jason says he doubts it because if he was in his office, they would have this a conversation face to face. And I love that about the character. And only Matt Damon can pull that off as he takes the files of Operation Blackbriar, I don't know if I'm saying that right, to figure out who he really is and why they made him an assassin. Jason shoots at 3 cops and almost gets arrested as someone else, Paz, I'll say. I thought he was dead. I might be wrong. And shoots him. And Jason steals a police car and have a spectacular chase sequence. And this is the first Bourne film to win 3 Academy Awards for sound mixing, sound editing, as well as the editing of this movie. Deservedly so for all 3, as the sound works very well in this movie. And the editing gives us a good movie, as this might be the best Bourne film so far, as reasonable as an hour and 55 minutes. Bourne comes for Dr. Hirsch after a meeting with Pam about the code 41571, as it's his birth date. And Pam sends a fax exposing Noah Blackbriar, and Jason gets to Hirsch, and the doctor says Jason chose him as he wanted to serve, and Noah comes in to shoot Jason and repeatedly falls into the East River in New York, which was a good exposition of how he became who he is today. 3 days pass and no body found as Nikki hears it on the TV, and Jason swims away, and the credits kick off to some extreme ways, and as a climax, it works very well as far as the end of the trilogy goes until we get the next 2 weeks, and I'll talk about them then. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.5 out of 10. The action and chase sequences work very spectacularly, and the cinematography is beautiful in this movie. It deserves the Oscar for the sound mixing, sound editing, as well as the sound works very well and the editing works very well at the 1 hour and 55 minute runtime. And I do love the fight between Bourne and Paz, as this is the perfect ending to a trilogy until we get the Bourne Legacy and Jason Bourne in the next 2 weeks. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with the Bourne Legacy without Matt Damon. And until next time, the name's Damon. Matt Damon.